Hey y'all, happy Tuesday. So I am going to let people go ahead and come into the room. I know the notification is probably going live now. I am running quite a bit late. I have been having computer troubles that I'm just not happy about right now, considering all the things that I want to talk about tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and give people just a few minutes to come into the room. As you're coming into the room, make sure you let me know that you are coming into the room. And hopefully everyone is having a good Tuesday and off to a great week. Hey, AKW Beats. Also, while we're waiting for people to come into the room, I do want to go ahead and shout out my patrons. Thank you so much for supporting my content. A special shout out to my VIP patrons, Michael, Ray, and Daniel. Thank y'all so much. If you also like to become a member of my Patreon, go ahead and click that link below and become a member today. Also, y'all, I've kind of been playing around with this idea a little bit. But I'm thinking about putting some of my more conspiracy based stuff over on my Patreon. I'm considering it. One thing I've noticed about the culture that we are currently in is that people like to it's like these huge boxes, and if you even close to a little bit of that, people try to lump you in these things. And one thing that, believe it or not, I've never covered on my channel is conspiracy theories, right? I don't cover it. Like, even tonight, we're going to talk about actual legislation that's happening. We're going to talk about actual things that your politicians are saying and doing in real time. I show y'all everything I talk about. These are not theories. So, but sometimes as I'm researching stuff to talk to y'all about, I kind of end up going down the rabbit hole, and I'll be like, "Ooh, this is interesting." You know what I mean? And so I don't know if I want to start a second channel. Maybe we'll kind of start moving some of that stuff to my Patreon. But there's some things that I'm looking to do going into the next year. So what y'all think about that? Also, can y'all believe that next week is like next year? Isn't that crazy? It's like a feeling of surrealness. Is that a word? Surrealness. I know surreal is surrealness. It seemed like it would be a word. But wow. So we're coming to the end of 2020. So that's pretty interesting. You know, I know it's been a tough year for a lot of people. But hopefully, if nothing else, you've all learned a lot, and anybody watching this, you're still here. So that's always a good thing. Surrealism. Thank you, the Writer Walker. All right. Hey to everybody coming in the room. Hey, Jupiter. Jupiter Ice. Y'all, they keep knocking my boy off YouTube. I don't know I don't know if he be harassing people. I don't know. He keep having to start these new accounts. Hey Kendra. Hey Teddy P. Thank you. Hey Bruce. Hey Edward. Hey the Writer Walker. So hey to everybody coming in the room. So y'all don't know. Y'all honestly brighten up my day, really and truly. And when I start talking to y'all, I really do get in my groove. Because let me tell you, your girl has not eaten dinner today, first of all. I have a little bit of a headache. I was having computer problems. My camera wouldn't start. So, it's been enough for me in one evening. But, we're here. So, Oh man. Y'all saying Trump vetoed the bill. Okay, so we were gonna talk about this tonight. But all right, so that must have happened while I was like in other research zone and looking for stuff to show y'all tonight. But let's go ahead and first of all, the first thing I want to mention is for my gun owners out there, for my gun uh owner supporters, to Apple advocates, activists, people that care. And even if you don't care, I'm still going to take this opportunity to tell you, okay? So some of you may or may not know that recently there was a letter that I guess like leaked from the ATF where they are debating banning braces. Now, braces, for people that may not know, is basically a stabilizer for firearms to help people shoot them just more steadily. Okay, so these have recently become popular with like wounded veterans, disabled people. I've seen people talking about their children using them, and it's just become like a popular accessory. I believe that's what that would be considered. A lot of people are not particularly happy about this. As some of you may remember, months and months ago, I don't know, months and months, a couple of months maybe, but I talked about Trump's ban on bump stocks. I talked about how problematic it was. At that time, nobody really gave a crap. People ignored me. People said, oh, he has to do stuff like this. You have to throw Democrats a bone. You have to do this. You have to do that. Blase, blase. It's not a big deal. It's just an accessory, this, that, and the other. Okay. I just want to remind y'all that this is one of the main reasons why I do my best. I don't address every single thing, but the things that I find important to bring to y'all, I really do try to address these things as they come, regardless of how popular it is, regardless of if people are hashtagging, regardless of if it's trending, regardless if the video gets a few hundred views, okay? And be very honest and forthcoming with you guys, because what we're going to start to see is, even tonight as we talk about this COVID relief bill, I just believe that you are not going to have a lot of people that are going to be sitting on the right side of history as regards to a lot of these issues. And when I say the right side of history, the least you could do, the very least you could do, is be consistent in your own beliefs. That's the least you could do. Okay. Because as we're gonna see, even with this COVID relief bill, you have a lot of politicians that come out railing against it, and yet you voted for it. A lot of times these people act like they're so polarizing, they're so against each other, and then they get on Capitol Hill, and you always vote, all of y'all, and I mean most, a high majority, y'all still voting big pharma. You're still voting big corporations. You're still voting military industrial complex. So where's the truth? And this is why I tell people time and time again, I'm not with the letting your guy get in there and then it's, oh, well, he had to do this. He had to say this. Like, no, I'm not with it. If it's wrong, it's wrong. Speak out against it. That's how it should be. And if a lot more people would take that mindset of principle over party, a lot of these issues would actually, I personally believe, we will see resolved, and we wouldn't have these revolving doors of talking about the same things over and over and over again. Okay? So the ATF is trying to do this, right? Some people are already trying to blame this on Biden or talk about Biden's America as if, Trump hasn't directly worked like with the ATF, with the NRA, came in saying, oh, I'm going to be for y'all Second Amendment rights and blah, blah, blah. We've seen the things that have happened. I've talked about these things and shown some of these videos even straight from Trump's mouth, right? Like, his opinion on red flag laws, his opinion on thinking, I believe I did this content where he mentioned, I know this was cigarettes too. I'm trying to remember firearms, something about moving the age or changing the age or something. But anyway, so y'all know I don't have the best of memory. This is why I really couldn't have been the best of history teacher. But however, I remember these concepts, and the concepts are the same, right? So as these things happen, we have to talk about them. And so some people may say, oh, that's not a big deal. These are just accessories, this, that, and the other. However, once the next person gets in there, you're setting a precedent and leaving a trail for this next person to take further steps. That's the actual problem. Some people try to compartmentalize and be like, oh, this one thing, who gives a crap about bump stocks? Like, it's not about the actual bump stock. It's about the issue. And this spans across issues. There have been other things where I've talked about, and it's like, if you give these people an inch, they take a mile. Look at us with the lockdowns, showing tons of people suicide, tons of Americans coming up on being kicked out of their homes, losing their homes, people losing their businesses. I still have not seen the actual numbers, the actual data. You have people saying, oh, mask work, oh, social distancing work. I have not seen the data and when I say data, I mean actual numbers that says this is the amount of lives that social distancing has saved. Without social distancing, this is a number that would have not been saved. I have not seen those numbers. They may exist. If y'all know, link them to me, email them to me, DM them to me. But other than that, I've not seen the numbers. I've seen people saying, oh, this works. And I don't even think two things. I don't think the hardest part of this that people are going to feel has really hit, because one thing y'all have to think about, and this just came to my mind because I was talking to a friend that lives in another state that's much colder, right? And he was telling me that the restaurants are not doing indoor dining through these winter months. Who's going to be sitting outside eating in the cold in 20, 30 degree weather as we go into the winter? So these are just, small like things to think about that are going to impact people. I read a article, this was probably a week ago, that says 50% of small Black businesses have closed, right? So it's like doing one thing and not accounting for others. I believe this was San Francisco. I read that you have higher numbers right now coming out of San Francisco of suicide than you have to coronavirus deaths, right? So, it's just a lot. It's just a lot. Please be mindful going into the holidays that people are dealing with a lot. Hopefully, if you are one of those people that are out of work, you did not feel pressured to go spend, your last on like holiday gifts and stuff like that, which is completely, I just wish, I would hope people wouldn't do that. So, just take that into consideration. But as it stands, your Congress here offering you guys $600. $600. Put you out of work, right? Put businesses out to turn around and end up at this. So first of all, let's talk about something that I have been talking about for absolute ever, is the problem with the omnibus bills. The omnibus bills is when they throw all of this different things that absolutely have no absolute correlation to each other, and they throw them all together in a pot. So the first problem with this is we literally have a 5,500 page, might as well say 5,600 page bill. 5,600 page bill. I've talked about this before. I talked about this, I believe, with the last stimulus bill, and then there was one before that, right? So you have a Congress that is going to throw all of these things in the Appropriations Act and all of the things that they want to do upcoming into 2021. They do this for a very specific reason. If you go on Twitter, you will see the people, your politicians, actually talking about this. Who the heck can read 5,600 pages in this allotted time? I don't even know how anybody in their right mind could just not agree that this is absolutely ridiculous. The first thing that really opened up my eyes to how problematic this was, like for me seeing it in real time, was I remember when Bernie Sanders was talking about how he had to absolutely vote for the crime bill, right? The 1984 crime bill, because it had a part in there about like helping women or doing something for women. And now here we are, years and years later. And this is why I'm saying, if you are against something, or even in that moment, you have to make it very clear that these are the things that I disagree with. The good thing about Twitter and social media is that it's now giving politicians the opportunity to do that, to come forth and say, like, this is trash. I'm not cool with it. I'm not voting for it. And this is why. So that's one of the opportunities that Twitter has given us. But even like I don't know the history, and maybe I should look into it, but I don't know the history behind doing this and people just accepting it and making it as if it's okay. These 5,000 page bills that they had maybe a few hours to 3 days to read this entire thing. And if you've watched my content, I've literally shown where Congress members are falling asleep, right, on the House floor, not even knowing the things that are going on in the bills, in the areas and the committees that they're working on. And so I just don't even know how this is absolutely acceptable, right? And so this bill, I'll drop this link below later, but it just has all kind of everything in here. And it's not a COVID relief bill. They're telling you a COVID relief bill because they want to mask all of their hidden agendas behind your pain and your emotions, right? A lot of people, well, everybody, I don't care who you are, to some degree, you're dealing with some type of something from COVID. I maybe can't necessarily call it stress, but whether it's where you can't travel, you can't travel, right? Uh, can't go visit your grandma or your mom at the nursing home. Your where you register for your firearm license is closed down. Your favorite restaurant meal went out of business, right? Like everybody is dealing with this to some degree. And so they go and they always tie it to things that don't even have anything to do with it, right? Like even the names of things that they choose. We can go into things like the Patriot Act. And then you read it and nothing's freaking patriotic about it. But these are the type of games that they play. And the good thing, one of the better things to come out of social media is the fact that now we have more readily easy access to these things. Is that gonna matter in the end? I don't even know, because we're getting ready to talk about one thing that they put in the bill that I just thought was so funny that I'm gonna share with y'all. But here you have the people that voted, right? Here's Congress. Here they are by position. Senate, the Senate. Here they are by position. 92 yeses, 6 noes. Now, who voted your noes? Well, those were your Wisconsin Republicans, all voted against the coronavirus relief plan, with Ron Johnson joining 5 other senators opposing the bill. What's going on in Wisconsin? What makes Wisconsin so special, and why all of the Republicans in Wisconsin turned this down? I really don't know. I don't know a lot about Wisconsin and their politics and things like this. But you have Marcia Blackburn, uh, Ted Cruz, Mike Lee, Rand Paul, and then you have your senators out of Wisconsin voting no for this. So this article talks about this, and I'm also going to drop this below. You've had a lot of people trying to mess this under. The people need help. Now, before people try to pretend, because I don't want to give them wrong too. Before people try to pretend, oh, they had to do this. They had to vote for it. They absolutely did not have a choice. This was a bill. This was a bill introduced by Tulsi Gabbard back in March. House Resolution 897, expressing the sense of the House of Representatives that there should be a direct emergency economic stimulus for individual Americans in response to COVID-19. So this idea that they can't, they couldn't, the truth is they won't. They refuse. This is very deliberate. And how many days does it take the average person to read 6,000 pages of something? Now, I assumed if it was your actual career and you were committed and dedicated to doing it, which we don't even believe. I hope you don't believe that most of your Congress people are committed or dedicated to the jobs that we basically hired them to do. But even then, how much would people be willing to read in that time? And so you have people like AOC. Congress is expected to vote on the second largest bill in U.S. history today, 2.5 trillion. And as of about 1 p.m., members don't even have the legislative text of it. It's not good enough to hear about what's in the bill. Members of Congress need to see and read the bills we are expected to vote on. I know it's controversial and I get in trouble for sharing things like this, but the people of this country deserve to know. They deserve better. This is why Congress needs time to actually read this package before voting on it. Members of Congress have not read this bill. It's over 5,000 pages, arrived at 2 p.m. today, and we are told to expect a vote on it in 2 hours. This isn't governance, it's hostage taking. And then she posted this as a response to the fact that the COVID-19 stimulus bill will make illegal streaming a felony. And by the way, it's not just members who need to see the bill ahead of time. You do. The public needs to see the bills with enough time to contact their representative to let them know how they feel. Members are reeling right now because they don't have time to consult with their communities. So that's AOC. AOC you have to pass it before you can know what's in it. Hey, John. This is like what our representatives are telling us, what they actually represent. I don't even know. To land on $600. So let's talk about just a few of the things that were in this bill, including billions of dollars for foreign aid. You have a Congress, an American government that is still meddling in these other countries' affairs. You have, let me tell y'all, because I wrote some of this stuff down. Climate change measures. You have, this is something that most of y'all didn't even see, right? Because I want y'all to know straight from me. In the event that something does happen, okay, I've been seeing a few people hinting at like violence, a civil war, all of these things possibly happening. Whether these things are going to happen, maybe at some point, who knows? I can't read into the future, but what I can say is that you are pushing a lot of people to their brink. When you push people out of work, You push them out of socializing with their friends and their communities. And then you tell them you're going to turn around and give them $600 after they continuously pay taxes, where oftentimes we can't even see the result of where this money is actually going. And I don't even begin to believe that the media is even telling us half of the truth of a lot of the business owners that are trying to stand up to these orders. The people that are protesting against these orders. The people that are actually in opposition to these orders, and the people that actually want to get back to working, because they know time and time again, when you depend and you put the faith in the government that, oh, they're just trying to protect us, they're just trying to keep us safe, and they turn around and give you $600 going into the winter months, when a lot of people just need to keep their heat on. There are already some places that are gathering things like food lines and things like this. I actually saw one just weeks ago. So, hey to everybody coming in the chat. Let's see what the writer Walker said. Rhonda, you will make the video in-game by Alex J. I don't know what that is. I got to check it out. The writer. Thank you for the super chat. But let me tell y'all, there were millions of dollars that went into this stimulus bill, COVID relief bill, for a partnership with an agency that does bulletproof vests for law enforcement. At this point, do they feel something more coming? Do they feel that? I mean, I don't know. It's just a lot being thrown in there. That bulletproof vests. Maybe preparation for something, maybe coincidence. I don't know if I really believe in coincidences, but it is so much in this bill that it is nearly impossible to read in that allotted time. And I highly doubt that most members of your Congress did it. And you even have people like AOC sitting right on Capitol Hill admitting that. Bruce said, do you think we're headed towards hyperinflation with 35% of all US dollars ever printed in just 2020? I was just reading about that today. And with lockdown, we're not producing anything. I'm so glad you brought this up, because I want to also address this. And this is the perfect time to do so. Because of our failed public education systems, you have a lot of people that don't understand money and how things actually move and work in real time. Yes, can and has our country just been basically overproducing and steadily printing money? Yes, they have. Can they do that? I assume so. That's what we've been seeing. However, this belief that at some point it's not going to catch up with us is just ridiculous. It's silly. It just doesn't make sense. for the dollar to actually stand for something and keep its value, there has to be actual production. I literally see people talking about, um Congress should give more money, and I'm going to clarify this in a minute. I literally see people talking about Congress should give more money. Congress should do this. Congress should do that. More money, give people money. However, when you have half a country that is not working, like I said earlier on, you're doing things and not accounting for all of these moving parts. And so it's really, really, really going to come back to bite us in the butt. A lot also, considering that so many people actually work for small businesses, and your small businesses are what's closing, it's going to, you also have to think about the people, your small business owners don't have the same rebound oftentimes that a Jeff Bezos, right? Or a Walmart would have, as far as things not working out. Oh, we want to try this. Oh, we want to move money there, here, or there. They're not going to have the same, they're not going to have the same resources as your big box businesses. And so a lot of these businesses are not going to return, which means a lot of these jobs are not going to return. You also have to think about the fact that all of your big box businesses, whether y'all know it or not, are moving towards more computer-based stuff. Okay, the lies they're gonna tell y'all is it's to keep you safe because of COVID, right? I go into Walmart now, half the store is self-checkout. You're about to have all of these self-driving automobiles. You're gonna have automated fry and burger flippers. So for all of the people, and I was talking about it when it wasn't even a popular thing to do. All of the people, oh, just give everybody $15, no matter the job, no matter what they do. I'm like, you can't just do stuff without accounting for everything it impacts and affects. And I was telling people, this was before COVID. I just had no clue about COVID. But I knew even then we're headed towards more of a robotic, artificial intelligence society. And you have to account for that. And so whether people want to hear it or not, I'm going to go ahead and throw this out there. I'm going to go ahead and throw this out there. And people may hate me for saying this today, but I'm always going to keep it real with people, whether people realize it or not. The same eat the rich, why do they deserve a tax break? People, for y'all people out there, what's getting ready to happen is when these small businesses don't return and you only can go to Amazon, you only can go to Walmart, you only can go to these big box companies, what's going to happen is the only way, because you're going to be competing with robots at this point. And the only way they're going to be able to incentivize these big box stores to hire a certain amount of human work, how do you think they're going to do it? It's going to be more tax breaks and more tax incentives. I'm just telling y'all the truth, and I'm just trying to tell you early on so you're prepared and you're not mad and you're not feeling like, oh, it's a slight. I mean, in some regards, yeah, because everything has been building up to a lot of stuff that just did not make sense. And when you throw all these things in a pot, it's not going to be very cohesive. So think about this. If I'm Jeff Bezos, right? I'm already moving towards robotics. I've already beat out my competitors because with the lockdowns, they couldn't afford to stay open. Now, for what reason should I hire more manpower? You can't make me. It's a free country. So, what actual incentive do I have to do so? This is what happens when you don't have an even playing field for your small business owners. And it's not even just one party or the other. Now you may have uh uh Republicans that tend to be more pro business and things like this. But when we look at COVID, when we look at the lockdowns on a large scale, when we look at the actual um the actual uh bill, this relief bill, they on Capitol Hill shaking hands while the American people are getting screwed. Now, this is also why I talk about the importance of local politics and how local politics is actually more important and more impactful oftentimes to your everyday life than what's happening on Capitol Hill, because like me, where I live in a red state, you have most of these places opening back up. For other people that do not, you don't have these things happening, right? Somebody was just commenting on my Instagram the other day. I was just hanging out, having a good old time in the Planet Fitness, getting my workout in. And somebody in California is like, y'all Planet Fitness open? Like, how that happen? And I'm thinking, our Planet Fitness been open since June, July. My country really come out sometimes when I'm talking to y'all. July. Um, you know, but these are the things to think about long term. This is why I always talk about forward thinking. Now it just feels good in the moment. And it's so funny. I have to say it. It's so funny, but it's a little interesting to watch a lot of these states going back to what I believed and said in the very first place. You go back, my content is consistent. From the very beginning, I said if these lockdowns work, if the mask work, if the social distancing works, allow people to get back to work and do what's best for them while doing the social distancing measures. This was my opinion early on. The first 2 weeks, 15, was it 14 days? 14 days to slow the spread. That's what I told all of us, right? So I'm with it. I'm like, cool. I see videos of people in China freaking falling out, getting boarded up in their houses. I'm like, what's up? But as time and time goes on, I see more and more, this is nothing but a money heist. They're sitting here giving our money, taxpayers' money. No, I'm not stoked about $600. It's our money. We paid into the system, and they're giving it to freaking Pakistan and other countries for all these different programs. And don't get me even started on that. You have Lindsey Graham sitting here saying, I think I had the video pulled up earlier because I want to show y'all, but now I don't have it. But it's very accessible on YouTube and Twitter. And I'll also probably drop the link below later in the comment section. But you have Lindsey Graham sitting here saying, oh, well, people like in Pakistan, that they deserve the money. They need the money. They need our help because um because the women there, they something about they can't do anything. They can't even have a bank account without a man's approval. So who the money going to that we're sending? Foreign aid is also just another heist for, or another cover for mostly theft, because think about it, y'all. Think about how corrupt our government is. Do you really think if we're giving the money, we're not giving the money directly to the people? We give it to another government. So, who's even to say where their money is going, how it's being spent? And I know a lot of people just want to feel virtuous and good in your heart, and you're doing the right thing, and this, then the other. And we're mostly being taken advantage of by a lot of these politicians. You can see it with some of their dealings. All of these politicians recently being connected to places like China and the CCP, right? And so a lot of times when you see, I mean, even terms like foreign aid, it's like what does that even mean? And that's another thing. They like to package these things to make them sound so virtuous. Jupiter said, with all these checks from the government, people don't realize we are going to be taxed heavy to death over the next 3 years. It's like, what, like, at some point, the proof is in the pudding. As cliche and as corny as that sounds, right? Like, even people that had this belief that, oh, if we just pay more taxes, because I'm so good in my heart and I care about the world. If we just pay more taxes, everything will be all right. How in the world could you sit here and look at this 5,600 page COVID relief bill and think that? I just, like, I'm so far gone at this point. I can't even understand it. I can't even relate. When you could see the millions that they will sit here and give to just, I bet when everybody saw that foreign aid, they didn't think America First was so racist. Now all of a sudden people cool with the America First when you're out of a job. Small business gotta close. So many people out of a job, yet your Congress was getting paid the entire time. So what's happening is we have a can that we just keep kicking down the road. And some people just, I don't know if it's whimsical. I don't know if it's optimistic, maybe naive. I don't know what it is, but to think that these problems, we can just keep kicking the can down the road and these things aren't going to come boiling over. And this is why I absolutely don't believe in giving more government to giving the government more power, which translates to giving the government more money, because when you give the government more money, they spend millions of dollars on buying things like bulletproof vests for law enforcement and sneaking it into a COVID relief bill because they possibly feel that they're going to push American citizens that have been out of work for months off the edge. And I have to admit, that whole small government, less government thing may sound just as whimsical and naive, because it seems as if, regardless of the D or the R in office, seems to be no such thing. No such freaking thing. But let me be very clear about the fact that if you're going to give trillions of dollars, why not take care of your people at home first? People that have actually paid into the system. That at the very least, that just makes sense to me. Or freaking let people get back to work. So there is actual production to support all of the things that these politicians are trying to do. Y'all, so, earlier today, I was like, if Trump doesn't veto this bill, I'm like, this is going to be, well, it still is. I mean, it's still going to be anyway. But I'm like, if Trump doesn't veto this bill, this is going to be the biggest wealth transfer under a supposedly conservative presidency. And just talking about this, and I'm like, the bill is trash. Like, he needs to speak out on it. Y'all, literally minutes before I come on to live, this video comes out where he's talking about it. And I'm going to show y'all this. Because I bet your mainstream media news didn't even cover it, because I was looking for it earlier. Now, they may have at this point. I don't know. I'll go back and check later. But let me show y'all this. Because I'm like, man, if he doesn't say something about this, I just don't know. Like, I'm still kind of to the point, like, I just don't think people feel the full weight of what we're witnessing right now with everything going on. And when I say the full weight, the levels of poverty that we're about to see, the levels of evictions, the level of tax increases, everything that's going to come out of this. So, but let's take a look at this, because I was like, right before I went live, he posted this to his Twitter, and I just did catch it.
Throughout the summer, Democrats cruelly blocked COVID relief legislation in an effort to advance their extreme left-wing agenda and influence the election. Then, a few months ago, Congress started negotiations on a new package to get urgently needed help to the American people. It's taken forever. However, the bill they are now planning to send back to my desk is much different than anticipated. It really is a disgrace. For example, among the more than 5,000 pages in this bill, which nobody in Congress has read because of its length and complexity, it's called the COVID Relief Bill, but it has almost nothing to do with COVID. This bill contains $85.5 million for assistance to Cambodia, $134 million to Burma, $1.3 billion for Egypt and the Egyptian military, which will go out and buy almost exclusively Russian military equipment, $25 million for democracy and gender programs in Pakistan, $505 million to Belize, Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, and Panama, $40 million for the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C., which is not even open for business, $1 billion for the Smithsonian, and an additional $154 million for the National Gallery of Art. Likewise, these facilities are essentially not open. $7 million for reef fish management, $25 million to combat Asian carp, $2.5 million to count the number of amberjack fish in the Gulf of Mexico. A provision to promote the breeding of fish in federal hatcheries. $3 million in poultry production technology. $2 million to research the impact of down trees. $566 million for construction projects at the FBI. The bill also allows stimulus checks for the family members of illegal aliens, allowing them to get up to $1,800 each. This is far more than the Americans are given. Despite all of this wasteful spending and much more, the $900 billion package provides hardworking taxpayers with only $600 each in relief payments. And not enough money is given to small businesses, and in particular restaurants, whose owners have suffered so grievously. They were only given a deduction for others to use in business their restaurant for 2 years. This 2-year period must be withdrawn, which will allow the owners to obtain financing and get their restaurants back in condition. Congress can terminate it at a much later date, but 2 years is not acceptable. It's not enough. Congress found plenty of money for foreign countries, lobbyists, and special interests, while sending the bare minimum to the American people who need it. It wasn't their fault. It was China's fault, not their fault. I am asking Congress to amend this bill and increase the ridiculously low $600 to $2,000 or $4,000 for a couple. I'm also asking Congress to immediately get rid of the wasteful and unnecessary items from this legislation and to send me a suitable bill, or else the next administration will have to deliver a COVID relief package, and maybe that administration will be me, and we will get it done. Thank you very much.
Let me tell y'all something, okay? I just had to show this straight from the horse's mouth, because even I was like, what's up? You know what I mean? Like, what's gonna happen with this bill? And I'm steadily looking for information, and here you go. And so I have to be honest, like, even as much as I get annoyed, like, with Trump and the Twitter fingers, one of the best things about social media as it relates currently to politics is the fact of things like this. The media is going to twist my words. The media is going to spin this, right? So I am going to tell you directly, straight from my mouth, that message was very concise, to the point. I'm sure addressed a lot of the concerns of a lot of people. Literally talking about all of the crap in this bill that does not directly address even COVID relief. I think it's almost 400, 500 pages into this bill before COVID is even mentioned. To me, this is the most honorable way to not only handle this situation, I think this was the right thing to do. And this is what I wanted to see. And people are going to say what they want to say regardless of the situation. But I feel like if you're going to do something, do the right thing and actually make it known in the way you can. You can. The media, it don't matter if he signed it, didn't sign it, $2,000, it doesn't matter. Okay? The media is going to say what they want to say about it regardless. However, I absolutely think this is the right move, because we continue to create this path where Congress feels like they can play us. A lot of the times they've been sneaky. A lot of the times, a lot of times previously, you will have it where presidents don't even talk about it, especially not in this way, about what's actually going on. So, if Congress is going to pass this bill either way, this tremendous freaking spending bill, a lot of these lines need to be replaced. All of these things that nobody cares about, that is not important when you're literally your country's in a pandemic, trying to fund places that are not even open. And the best thing he said is, and this is something I've been saying for a long time, you will have people, oh, socialism, oh, y'all just want socialism, blase, blase. But I'm like, who acts for this? Like, this is not the average American's fault. Like, you've literally had people getting accosted by law enforcement for not wearing masks, for not social distancing. I think I remember like seeing a girl getting beat up on camera by a police officer for not wearing a mask outside, and all these other things. People's places of businesses forcibly being closed, people's businesses being locked and things like that. And so to some extent, you really push people's back against the wall. And unfortunately, the way things are headed, and I like I said, I don't know the future. And I certainly don't intend to fearmonger. But when you have a Congress that will pass a 5,600-page bill and trying to push their own agendas with very little regard for the American people, and a lot of people are already going through depression, a lot of people already feel like they don't have anything to live for. Okay, your suicide numbers show this. It could get bad. And I think they know that when they put stuff like millions of dollars, oh, we're going to make sure we work with these bulletproof vest agencies and all this other crazy stuff. So that's what Trump came out and said. We'll actually see what happens. But I'm like, if you know that this bill is some BS, it's like, I'm not going to sign it. Like, if that's, the legacy that the next administration wants, or that's what y'all down with, you're going to have to do that on your own time. Like, that's just what it is. So we'll see what happens. Don't even get me started on the whole fact that a lot of this was used like a political football in the first place. That's one of the main reasons, okay, why this has been pushed back so far anyway. They wanted to push it behind the elections. Eller said this in January 6th is going to be entertaining. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I've noticed that Tulsi has been introducing a lot of kind of standout legislation lately, or having some standout opinions. Why I call them standout opinions is because oftentimes, Republican here, Democrat here, and if you do anything that even hardly, even a little bit, seems to sway against or cross the line of the box that they put you into, all of a sudden, you're a problem. And so, like I mentioned, even people like her pushing that legislation, like, get the relief straight to the people. Let's work on that. Michael said they had all those junk provisions all along, waiting for the perfect opportunity to push it through. Absolutely. And then they know that you're going to have these politicians that, 5 years later, 10 years later, when people are feeling the actual heat of a lot of these businesses not coming back, taxes increasing, and things like this, you're going to have a lot of people, because in hindsight, mark my words, about 5-10 years from now, a lot of people, Republicans and Democrats, are going to be talking about how bad these stimulus bills were. You're going to have the social justice warriors talking about how COVID lockdowns were racist. You're going to have all these other things. And you're going to have these politicians that are going to be like, oh, well, we had to do it because the people needed economic relief. Yes, the people do need economic relief, but do it the right way. Y'all, I have on my anti-status t-shirt tonight. Advocate of freedom, skeptic of government, anti-bootlicker. The link to this tee is below in the comment box. Make sure you go ahead and grab one of those. But we'll see what happens. We'll see how long it takes them to come back to the table with anything, or if this is even going to happen before January 6th. Congress people, they're ready to go home. So this isn't a good look. It actually is another reason why they did this, because they know people are ready to go home. They also know that a lot of people are getting ready for the holidays, and they're like, oh, let us just push this through at the last minute so we can say we did it. So it's just a lot of tactics and stuff that they do that is just very very nefarious. And so yeah, it's getting to the point where it's getting very easy to spot and very frustrating. And like Cool Gent said, they think they're very, very slick. And if we don't hold people accountable, if we don't talk about these things, they'll slide them. They'll slide them right in there. And here you have a Congress that produces nothing but uses, right? I tweeted this today. If you're not following me on Twitter, make sure you follow me over there. My name is I Am RhondaMary on Twitter. That's my new Twitter page. I said the government does nothing but kill, steal, and destroy. Literally, think about it. Well, like, honestly, that's what they do. Kill, steal. They come like a thief in the night. Look how they tried to pass this stimulus package. They came like a thief in the night to kill, steal, and destroy. Y'all know I'm not lying. But anyway. All right, so thank you to everybody who Oh, no, Helena, it's the same Twitter. I just changed my name on there. It's the same Twitter as the last Twitter. For y'all that don't know, yeah, I was worked so hard and had built my Twitter, which wasn't even like that many followers as of yet, because I had just started really tweeting this year, but was building my platform up. They banned me off Twitter, so I started a new page, and that's the name. I just changed it to I am RhondaMary. So but yeah. So make sure you go follow me on Twitter. Let's chat on Twitter. I be on Twitter. I be, I be with the. So hopefully I don't get banned again. But anyway, all right, y'all. So thank you to everyone that super chatted. Thank you so much to my patrons. If you would like to support my Patreon content, make sure you go ahead and click the link below. Thank you. A special thank you to my VIP patrons, Michael, Ray, and Daniel. If you would like to purchase your very own anti-status tee or your Hey Y'all mug, the link is also below, and I believe Helena has been dropping that the entire time. So thank y'all for supporting me. Please make sure you like, share, subscribe. If you're not subscribed, make sure you go ahead and subscribe. Thanks to all of my subscribers going into 2021. I'm a little excited to see what happens and how all this pans out. And also, like I said, if you're interested in becoming a member of my Patreon, I am thinking of putting some more of my what may be considered conspiracy theory here on my Patreon. Regardless of the box people may try to put me in, I do not do conspiracy theories on this particular YouTube channel. I do not. Every single thing, just like tonight, I show y'all, and I'm going to link below where you can find the stimulus bill. I show you what the president is saying out of his own mouth. I show you the tweets directly from your politicians. I show you what your mainstream media, okay? My numbers about as good as my numbers about as good as COVID survival, okay? So about 99.97% of the time, I'm using the same mainstream media sources that everybody else is using. Yeah, no. So, but all right, y'all. Y'all have a good night. Thank y'all. And if I don't speak to you before the end of this week, happy holidays. I hope you enjoy time with your family. Be safe. Bye.